Hi everybody, Eli here, and you are watching Time Driven. Thanks for tuning in today. So today I have two very similar looking watches at two very different price points. On the left, we have my Q Timex GMT, which I paid about $130 for from Timex's website with a coupon code. And then on the right, I have my Rolex 16710 GMT-Master II Pepsi. So let's see, is the watch on the right worth 100 times the watch on the left? Let's find out. Let's start out by looking a little bit at the Timex Q. Now I've already done a video reviewing this watch, and I do love it, so I won't go too into depth, but I wanted to highlight a couple of my favorite things about this piece. I love its vintage-inspired design. It features an acrylic crystal that is domed and is very elegant. It also features a bezel with kind of old text on it that I really enjoy, and I also think the case shape is very unique. This watch comes in at 38 millimeters, but it actually wears a little bit larger than that because of the elongated case shape from top to bottom. It also features a quartz movement, which I actually appreciate at this price point. A lot of times watches at this price point, if they feature a mechanical or automatic movement, they need servicing eventually, and it's usually not worth servicing. I find that the longevity of these pieces is a lot better when they have a high-quality quartz movement like this one. I also appreciate that I don't have to set it. And in the other corner, we have my Rolex GMT-Master II Pepsi 16710 from 2007. Unlike the Q Timex, it has a 40 millimeter case size, which is slightly larger, a sapphire crystal instead of an acrylic one, and it features an in-house automatic movement. This watch is an absolute grail of mine, and I was so excited to add it to my collection. One of my favorite things about this piece is I love the charm of vintage Rolex, but I love the modern reliability of the newer pieces. I really felt like this split the difference really well. I got the vintage sizing and charm, but I got modern reliability with this piece and don't have to worry about it. It has been a joy to own. At a glance, both watches really look phenomenal. They both capture the iconic Pepsi GMT look. The Timex is perhaps a little bit more vintage inspired with a little bit of faux patina, a bit of discoloration on the bezel, and the domed acrylic crystal. But at a glance, both watches look absolutely phenomenal. Like many of the finer things in life, the devil is certainly in the details, and as you get closer, you start to see what you're paying for with the Rolex. Starting with the material. While the Timex steel looks great with the distinction between the polished and brushed finishes, the 904L stainless steel on the Rolex looks incredible. It has a beautiful luster to it that's second to almost none in the watch industry. Also, if you look in closely at the Timex, you'll notice that the second hand doesn't quite align with the indices, whereas the details on the Rolex dial are absolutely perfect. Everything aligns perfectly, and as you get in closer to the dial, the details really pop out at you. Still, for what I paid for the Timex, I wouldn't complain about it, and I actually think the finishing is quite good. On the wrist, I actually really like the feel of the Timex Q. This is the upgraded bracelet, and it doesn't have the arm hair pinching issues that their past bracelet had. I also think it looks really great, and it wears really well. The size is nice on my small 6-inch wrist, and I also like that the watch is really light. It's the type of piece that you can throw on and you forget that you even have it on. It really feels great to wear. On the wrist, the Rolex feels much heftier than the Timex. It has more weight to it, and it has such solid feel to it, almost like that of a German sports car. Also, the more you look at it, the more you kind of fall in love with all of the little details and the luster and the shine. When I put the Timex on, I notice I don't look at my wrist a whole lot. I just kind of grab it and go, and we'll check the time from time to time. But when I put the Rolex on, I catch myself looking at it constantly, admiring all of the little details and the precision in the design. Objectively speaking, the Rolex is not 100 times the watch that the Timex Q is. They both do the same thing, and one would argue that the Q Timex actually does it a little better, because it's a little bit more precise with its quartz movement. I think it's important to note that the Rolex is the real McCoy. They were the first ones to create the GMT watch back in the 1950s for Pan Am pilots. And so there's a lot of history and mystique that comes behind having a Rolex or having the Rolex GMT-Master. Also, at the end of the day, the heart simply wants what it wants. This has been my favorite piece I have ever owned, and there's an X factor that happens every time I put this on my wrist. There's something that makes me feel special, or it feels like an event just putting it on. Every time I look down at my wrist when I have this watch on, I smile and I find myself looking at it time and time again. I actually really enjoy owning both of these great pieces. I find myself wearing the Rolex more in formal or professional settings or situations, and I find myself wearing the Timex Q when I go to exercise, work in the yard, run errands, or when I'm just going to knock around town for a bit. I like having a piece that I don't have to worry about so much, and I like being able to wear the Rolex when I can take better care of it. Either way, both watches see a lot of wear, and I love having both of them in my collection. I think they both are stunning looking, and they're both wonderful to wear. You can't go wrong with either one. One of my favorite things about the watch collecting hobby is that it's accessible for anybody at any price point, whether your budget is $130 or $13,000. There are great Pepsi GMT watches to be had at all price points. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you have either of these watches or something similar, and let me know your thoughts. Also, if you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing, I'd really appreciate it, and stay tuned for some more content. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.